Well, looky here. Looky here. It's Friday, y'all. So we made it to another weekend. Made it to another weekend. Today is a great day. Actually, somewhat bittersweet too. But it's a good day, nonetheless. Every day that you get a chance to, yeah, man. Wrong one. Had a real bad power hit last night in the middle of a call. Boom. Thank you, one of the show producers. I appreciate you so much. What up, that chick, yo? Toronto Riggins in the building. Auntie Canada, aka. What up, boo? Brick by brick. What up, guy? Long time, man. Glad you made it through this morning. All right, so welcome to Morning Motivation, everybody. Your daily dose of inspiration and empowerment. I'm your host, Jamon, and I'm thrilled to have you join us as we kickstart our day with positivity, purpose. So whether you're here to seek motivation, connect with like-minded individuals, really don't matter. Or just want to get your day started on the right foot, you come to the right place. And today is a great day. Today is a bittersweet day. I said it a few minutes ago. Let's see. What up, boo? Today, my son Jordan graduates from high school. This is the last boy, the last man that I will be training as father to child. The last part of that male psyche of legacy, meaning your name being carried on. And both of my sons have my name, my whole name. They're both named Jamon Glover. One is Junior, one is Jordan. Jamon Glover. You know, I tried to get that George Foreman. I was gonna make Jamon the first, the second, and the third. Folk was like, "No, sir, not having it, not having it." So, shout out to them because you know that would have been a disaster in hindsight. So, shout out to them. Shout out to them. Thank you for all the graduate love. It's a milestone though. When you're babies, I mean, and Jordan is a little different of a case for me primarily, because Jordan, when he was born, he could literally fit in the palm of my hand, his whole body. Just the back of his head would lean over onto my middle finger. But y'all see, I don't have very big hands. And he was born, he was 2 pounds and 2 ounces when he was born. He was a preemie. And so watching him go from being this little skeleton of an embryo, not breathing when he was born and thinking we had lost him then, watching him in the NICU for 3 months. And then he was probably the only child that I stayed at home with for any time, you know, early in their life. Now, I've been around all of them their whole life. But when Jordan was born, when he came home from the hospital, my wife at the time had already started kind of going back to work a little bit. She needed to get back because she had so many things happening. She had started working. And when Jordan came home, I was actually about to start transitioning from being in corporate to going more blue collar. And I was in a transition period. So Jordan stayed home with me until I, started the next career path. And so I got a chance to really get that hands-on, one-on-one baby daddy time. Not baby daddy, but my as a dad, I'm with my baby. And those were some really special moments. And he was so frail early on. And then to watch the guy he has became, the warrior that he has become, the athlete that he has become, the brother, the friend. I mean, and now he's graduating high school, and it's definitely a little bit of a milestone. I know we got many more to come, but it's also the first one. Yeah, bonding time. But it's also the first one that my dad will not be at. My dad loved coming to the family events. He loved showing up, seeing his legacy. Yeah, his legacy, his lineage, watching it grow. And so this will be the first one that he will not be at. And I'm already feeling the presence because I look forward to, seeing my dad pop up because he popped up in all his glory. He popped up in all his glory. He always had on a sport jacket, shirt, some Stacey Adams, some slacks, and the Red Fox afro grown booming when he walked into the room, hugging every lady and kissing every cheek. That's my daddy. He was a show within a show. But let's get to the topic at hand because I'm literally hopping off this live, going straight to the graduation. So this week we've been talking about bitterness. We've been talking about how bitterness is the silent killer. It'll kill your dreams. It'll kill your hopes. It'll kill your relationships. And it'll just make you an overall bitter, nasty, and a person that most people don't want to really be around unless they're part of that bitter club too. And so Monday we talked about the character from the Harry Potter series, Professor Snape. And we found out that Professor Snape was bitter because of an unrequited love. He didn't get the love back that he wanted from this Harry Potter's mom. I think her name was Lily Potter. They were best friends growing up, and he was madly in love with her. But she fell in love with James. James he would be the jock. He's the captain of the football team. She's the head cheerleader. It's like they were destined to be together. But Snape was in love with her, and he couldn't get her. So it looked like he carried a grudge against Harry the whole time. But in the end, he found out that it was his love for his mom that made him do the things that he did to keep him safe. So we have bitterness by love. And then on Wednesday, we talked about the character from the movie Gladiator, Commodus. Joaquin Phoenix played this character. And Russell Crowe was Maximus. And the king, the emperor of Rome, he knows his time is coming to an end. And he wants to hand over the power of Rome back to the citizens. And he knows his son is not right in the head, basically. He knows his son is not right in the head. As a parent, As a parent, when one of your children is a little off. When they got it together. And when I'm just, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Put a 1 in the chat if you can relate to that. Because I have altogether 5 children. And one of them, I always knew this one gonna be this I ain't gonna have no problem out of this one. This one gonna be the one that's gonna hold the family up if the family ever get a little strained. Then I had another one. I'm just like, man, look. If the family had to fall in these hands before time, we all might be in trouble. Might mess up the legacy. Then you got a couple that just kind of middle of the road, you know what I'm saying? They could go either way, but with some good training, that I was gonna make some good decisions. So I always knew. What is it? I observe a lot. I'm a people watcher. What up, Craig G? That's yours. I've seen it as an auntie. Yeah, man. It's just like, okay, if we gotta depend on this one, they not ready just yet. Not quite ready. And so that's what Commodus was. His dad knew he wasn't ready. He knew he would be a cruel ruler. He knew that between him and the Senate, Rome would probably end under their watch because they both were very, very corrupt. There was no more honor left. And the most honorable man that he knew of was his general, which is why it was his general, Maximus. And so he calls Maximus in and tells him, I want you to take over. I want you to usher Rome into a new era where the citizens have the power. Oh no, but not your boy Commodus. Pops, you ain't doing this to me. Got another thing coming. So he killed his dad. And he made a hostile takeover of the crown. And he was in love with his sister. I mean, like in love with his sister. He wanted to know her biblically in love. And then he was very vicious and vindictive and no, he couldn't quite feel the love that he wanted to feel. He wanted to be accepted by all and beloved, and he wanted what Maximus had. The affection of his sister, the affection of his father, the support and love of the people. He wanted that. And so that case was a bitterness by jealousy. A bitterness by jealousy. And so today, there's a three, and you can add as many prongs to this fork as you want, but I call it the three-prong. This is just a regular old three-prong fork where there's a third ingredient that is the worst in the bitterness stage. Because unfortunately, love and jealousy, they tend to go hand in hand. But then a third piece comes along with that too. And that's called self-hatred. Self-hatred is what we're going to talk about for a few minutes today. Y'all.
Look like we got us the winner of the Lucky of the Year award.
Oh, man. Woo. Okay, all right. My wife just walked by the window and, kind of distracted me for a second there. But this morning,
every year my skin just seemed to get blacker.
Get blacker and darker. And blacker.
And then
then more darker. We talk about none other than the guy, your favorite uncle. Matter of fact, let me see if I can share my screen real quick. Y'all favorite uncle, Ruckus. Oh man, Uncle Ruckus, man. The Boondocks. Put a one in the chat if you remember the Boondocks. If you thought the Boondocks was probably some of the best TV, one of the best cartoon series, yes, I definitely agree with that. But let me see if we got any Boondocks fans in here. Okay, yeah, it's good condition. All right, cool. Had to tell we had a bad power hit last night, and so got to make sure that everything is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Yeah, all right, we looking good.
Oh Lord, have mercy! Security! We got a
cold black. Cold black at the front gate. So Uncle Ruckus is a very complex character. He's funny. He has some of the best one-liners. Scale me, come to Kente. Don't trust these new ninjas over there. I mean, he has some great one-liners. He has some funny sayings. His comebacks were like second to none. But what if he was a real person? What if he was a real person? How funny would that be? How entertaining would that be if Uncle Ruckus was a real person? It would be tragic, y'all. It would be so tragic. And the sad part is we all know people who don't generally mess with us, which is why we see them in TV, right? Remember the cop from Boys in the Hood? I don't like none of you ninjas. And then they did the spoof in Don't get caught drinking juice or sipping juice in the hood. The spoof that one of the Wayans brothers did. He said, I hate my gums because they black. I hate my shoes. I hate my badge. I hate my belt because it's black. I'm telling you, it's a lot of people that really hate themselves for whatever reason. They hate themselves for whatever reason. And this particular
First thing I did was quit all my jobs.
okay. He said, okay, I can't play it because y'all know I'm gonna get my hand slapped. But he laying on the bed and he's depressed because he just realized he black. He didn't realize he black, y'all, right? So he said the first thing he did was quit all his jobs because that's what ninjas do. So I'm gonna mute this. Okay. So he quit all his jobs because that's what ninjas do. And he's literally depressed. And he's going to get up and he's going to put on a white tee. He's going to put on an oversized white tee. This is early 2000s now. Then he going to go to the house and Riley there. Riley's my dude. Riley is the conscious one. And he's going to be like, so what else do you ninjas do all day? Oh, you think you going to just read books and sit here? Thinking you better than the white man? Okay, I'm done. All right, I ain't got enough time for this today. All right. But, yo, this is literally one of my most favorite characters. And partly being because he is so complex. Because you see him, don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. Well, I tell you, boo, you be on it, girl. You be on it. But anyway, so why is Uncle Ruckus so bitter? Anybody got any thoughts? Why does he hate himself? Why does he hate himself so much? And it's a thing. It is a real thing in our community. And there are a couple of episodes that show his backstory, that show him as a little kid. And remember those attachment styles we talk about? Some trauma happened to Ruckus in his youth. And it made him not only see himself in not as good light, but everybody that looked like him as well. And so he's famous for basically racial self-hatred. As a matter of fact, the actor, do y'all know who the actor is that play Uncle Ruckus? He's a guy named Gary Anthony Williams. And he's a very interesting guy as well because he actually looked like Uncle Ruckus. And when he put makeup on him and he dressed up, he looked like Uncle Ruckus. But outside of that, he looks totally different for a couple of different reasons. Maybe we'll get to it. Maybe we won't. We'll see. But Uncle Ruckus is most famously known for racial self-hatred, delusional beliefs.
Every year my skin just seemed to get blacker and darker.
And darker. And blacker. And more darker.
darker.
I got the opposite of what Michael Jackson had. I got re-vitiligo. Delusions. He hate himself. He denigrates every black person in his circle. First episode, he run past Grandpa and the boys because they got invited to Mr. Wansler's house, the big money dude of the city. His first thing was, excuse me, can't tell you, as he ran to get to the car with the white people in it. Then it's security, we got a code black, right? He hates himself. And people that hate themselves, it's hard for them to form bonds, strong bonds. Can anybody think of that person in school who didn't want to hang out with your race, but they want to hang with another race? But they never fully felt accepted into the other race. And they felt uncomfortable coming back to their race. So they kind of found themselves in this awkward no man's land. no loyalties, and they have loyalties, but it's not reciprocated. And that's one of the biggest challenges that we have. I think we talk about, at least discussed anyway, in the black community. We don't stick together, but because of our history, the trauma of slavery, the trauma of Jim Crow, segregation. So why he sound like Danny Glover dad on The Color? You're black, you're ugly, you're a woman. Oh, that was one of my favorite characters right now. What you gonna do, sweet about the caboose? But anyway. She said, why he sound like Danny Glover dad on The Color Purple and the grandma on The Nutty Professor? Not the grandma. The grandma was what? Oh, Sherman. Ooh. We gonna have elation. We gonna have elation. That's it. Okay, I got you now. I got you. I think that's the old bitter voice. That's the old bitter voice after a 2-pack of Marlboros. Because Uncle Ruckus best believe if he smoked, it was Marlboros. If he smoked, it was definitely Marlboros. So self-hatred is one of the things that has our community. Willie. Am I reading it right? Brick by Brick said, Willie. I'm trying to think of Willie. Who am I missing? Willie. Was Willie in the Nutty Professor? Willie. And my son always talking about Willie. But I can't remember where it came from because it's old. So I don't remember where it came from or the reference. You got to give me a little more clue on that one, Brick by Brick. You got to clue me in just a little bit more. And so when you hate yourself, it's hard for you to connect with others because you think low key, everybody see you the way you see you. Even if they don't see it, even if they don't act like it, it's hard to believe that other people see more in us than we see in ourselves. And so the game is we try to trick them. We try to put our best foot forward. We try to be the most pleasing in appearance and personality. But if that's not who we really are, then it fades. There you go. Willie Lynch theory. Okay. All right. I thought you were talking about the character. Yep. It's called the Willie Lynch theory. Exactly. It is a whole psychology. It's documentaries done on it, on how it was a slave owner in the Americas sent a letter to I don't know what you call this guy. He was the guy who was in charge of doing the buck breaking, training the slaves, keeping them loyal because slavery was all about money. Slavery, in all honesty, it was never about hatred. Europeans did not dislike Africans because they were black. That was never the case. The case was this. They got a lot of resources in their land that we want. We can mine it, but we can't. We can't work in the sun. They were made to work in the sun. Their skin has all this melanin that absorbs it. The sun kills us. It gives us melanomas and skin cancers. But we need these resources. We have more powerful weapons, so we're going to put them to work for us, and we're going to take the resources. Oh, wow, now they're a resource. Now we're going to ship them all over the world because they're great workers. We're not going to pay them because we're trying to build something. Slavery was all about economics. And as far back as time goes, slavery has been a thing. It has been a thing. The difference between the enslaved black people versus the Jewish community versus communities from long ago, in that form of slavery, in this current form, in this newer form of slavery, it was chattel slavery. And in chattel slavery, you are home growing them. You didn't take them. You initially you brought them from somewhere, but now you are raising them. You're breeding them. And in order to justify it, you have to create narratives that this is what God wanted. They were born just for this purpose right here. And we give them houses, we give them food, but you can't trust them. Y'all can't trust each other, but y'all can trust me because I'm the master. I'm going to take care of you. And so you have to form this narrative that they're untrustworthy, that they're lazy, that they're shiftless. You got to create all these narratives just to keep the institution from imploding. Because people, I mean, when you seeing some mother or some child being ripped from their mother right in front of you, when you seeing a child hanging on his father's feet as he's becoming strange fruit, I mean, it does something to the spirit. It does something to your spirit. So you have to find ways to justify it. And you have to create systems that perpetuate it. And so we have what we have now. But Willie Lynch was one of those guys. He went out there and he done harsh things, and he promised that if you do this right, it'll last for generations. And if this letter is a true letter, if it was a real thing that actually happened, then the guy understood human psychology very well, and he applied it very well. Because to this day, we love each other, but we don't always get along sometimes. We're scared to do business with one another. We're scared to build in our same community. We're scared to buy back our communities. We're scared to set standards because you can't tell people nothing. When I grew up, you know, it did take a village. You know, Alice down the street could get on me just as fast as my mom could. But Alice also had enough respect to know this is not my child, so I'm going to be light, but he need to know. And then she would beat me down the road telling my mom what happened. And it was cool. Now we can't even speak to somebody's child. Because the child might cuss us out. And then the mom might cuss us out, or the daddy might cuss us out. Because we told on the child. So it's like we're isolated. You know, we don't have the same community. And that's what we gotta find that again. Which is one reason why I'm creating Father Figure. Because I think culture has to be decided upon. Culture has to be decided upon. And we have chosen as a culture that hip hop is going to be the dominating force. And it's going to be what's blazing the trail. The only problem is that we don't control it. And it's very toxic, and it's keeping us back in this same place. Today is not about that. It's not about that. But that's what self-hatred does. It highlights everybody else's strengths and throws ice water on yours. Delusional beliefs. Well, I'm just like that, but I got the opposite of what Michael Jackson had. And every year, my skin get darker and blacker and darker and more blacker. And so it's funny when you hear a character that's talking that way. When you hear a cartoon, because it's a cartoon and it's supposed to be fun, you don't take it serious. My two favorite episodes with Uncle Ruckus was the one when he was black. He realized he was black, and so he walked around. He said, "What are these, Jordans? All you ninjas do is just buy shoes. Can a white man get a shoe deal?" I mean, you know. And then my second favorite one was when he was mocking the fraternities. That was crazy. Anyway, Brick by Brick says, it's hard to argue that it wasn't real. Its manifestations is all around us today. Oh, yeah, no. I know the mat is real. Let's put it this way. I know the practice was real. There's debate about if there was actually one person who masterminded it. That's what the debate is in those circles. Was there actually this Willie Lynch guy? Was he a real guy? Or was there like a pen name? White power, just like Clayton Bigsby. He divorced his wife because she was a ninja lover. Exactly. Y'all know that Dave Chappelle character. So when he found out his wife loved ninjas because he realized he was one. He divorced her because she loved him too. Got to get rid of you, girl. But yeah, you see the impacts, and it's not as Uncle Ruckus is a fictional character that exaggerates the point. That exaggerates the point. Oh wow, it is raining again. I guess there will not be no outside ceremony today. Yeah, it's gonna have to be inside the gym. All right. That's that, because this rain is pouring down right now. But anyway, so Uncle Ruckus was he is a very complicated character. His hostility toward black people. There's so many episodes where he's being a Karen. He's truly being, that's exactly what he's being. He's being a Karen. And he has an obsession with Lord have mercy. If the Lord made anything better than the white woman, he kept it for himself. Watch out, little color girl. Let me get over to that white girl. Lord have mercy. Oh, man. He obsessed with the white culture because that's the way it should have been done. God made a mistake making him, creating black folk. How he justifies it is within the delusion. It's within the delusion. And because of that, again, he has the inability to form healthy relationships. Even the granddad, Robert. Granddad always tried to be Ruckus' friend because he understood. And they actually formed a really good bond, but they would play chess or checkers, and they sit in the park and they talk. He complained about black folk, and Robert was trying to tell him, "Hey, Ruckus, you black today, you're black tomorrow, and you're gonna be black the next day after that. Embrace being black. You might actually enjoy it." And that was a complex relationship because Granddad was a strong character in himself, and Ruckus was a strong character, and to see those two black men, these characters sit down and as they butt head and they talk, that's the thing that I really want to kind of highlight, that they actually did sit down and were able to have conversations. And that's one thing that we don't do enough sometimes. We don't actually have the conversation. It's all about my side, my thoughts, their side, their thoughts. And we're not ever finding common ground where we can still work together. I don't fool with them people over there, man. They weird. But them people might be the resource you need for this next phase of your life. But because you don't deal with them, you can't put things to the side and still come together. We're the only community that we gotta like each other to work with each other. We gotta like each other to work with each other. You know how many people in other cultures that I've seen that they didn't fool with each other outside of work. They didn't go hang out. They didn't go to each other's kids' baptisms or whatever. They did business together. They were both skilled at what they did. They had a manager that came in. They had the books and the contracts lined up so there wasn't no cheating each other. And they did work. They built community. They ain't gotta like it. Once upon a time, being excellent in your education, being excellent in the things you did was a badge of honor. And, at some point, we start calling it being white. Can anybody relate to that? Put a 1 in the chat if somebody's ever told you or you've ever said to somebody, "Man, stop acting white, man. Stop, you talking white right now." Or maybe not you, but somebody. "Oh man, you living like white people." Like, what? What does I eat, I breathe, I sleep in a house? I go to work every day? I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. That your yo said, heard it before. Yeah. Yeah. And that is a clear sign of self-hatred. That is a clear sign of self-hatred. And then you see these people online. Boo said one for sure. And there is a clear group online, a segment of black folk online, and they make a lot of money denigrating the black community, airing out the black community. And they're just as black as the rest of us. But somehow or another, Brick by Brick said, definitely said that before. Teron Rings, I hear people say that. Look, say that to me. I'm guilty. And the thing is, to an extent, most of us are. To an extent. Some of us may be a little bit more severe, but it depends on where you came from. It depends on where you came from. Because I worked at a country club where there were no black members. And I was on the wait staff. And so I told y'all them stories about, women grabbing their purses off the floor, putting it in their lap, and people refused to order anything from me. And this was early 90s. This wasn't even back in the 70s. This is the early 90s when you thought it was a little, things had changed a little bit. But not so much. Not so much. And when my family moved from where we lived on West End to the country, I started hanging with, the kids in that community, which I hated them. I hated it at first. That's where I met Randy and some of these other a couple other my day ones. I met them out when I moved to the country. And so hanging with them was different than hanging with the kids on West End. They were just more laid back. They was, doing chores, and they were shooting ball and hunting and riding four-wheelers. But in West End, we was, getting into mischief. We was, carrying packages and running from the police. And that was a sport in itself. You just be walking down the street, you see a cop car pass you, everybody like, y'all ready? Y'all ready? Did we take off running? And then you see the police car turn around, come back, sirens blasting, woo, 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 woo. And it's like, we ain't done nothing. It just became a sport. We just gonna run from the police and see if they chase. And they always did. These black guys running, they must have done something. They're guilty of something. And so once I moved away from that community into the country, and it's not even around different, asking for trouble. When I would reconnect back with my friends on West End, they handled me differently. And I started to feel like I wasn't really down with them anymore. They would start saying things like, hey man, you sure you need to be up in here? What you doing? This ain't, bro, I don't think you need to be doing this, bro. You got to go home to, your mom and your dad there, man. You sure you want to do this? And at the time, I took it as, man, don't be trying to play me. I grew up doing this. What you mean? And my own bias, my own self-hatred, I thought they were saying something negative to me. I thought they were saying I didn't fit in anymore. I didn't belong anymore. But what they were really saying is, bruh, you got what we want, bruh. We don't want to see you mess it up. We don't want to see you mess it up. So you sure? Now, we ain't going to stop you either because, we can use you. But you sure you want to be doing this? And one day it clicked. But before that day came, I didn't feel like I was hood enough for my first group of friends. And then my new friends, they were cool, but I wasn't really trying to flow with them for real because they weren't cool enough for me. They weren't like those dudes I just left. And so I was not black enough. I was not hood enough in that community. And then when I would go to the country club, I was definitely not accepted there. We jumped in the pool one time and they drained the whole pool the next day. Like facts, all facts. I'm just like, yo, they got no love for your boy. I don't know what disease I got, but I hope it ain't that contagious. But this country has done a weird thing to us. That's how I took it at first. Sounded like they were jealous because I got out. But it wasn't even that. It was they were just happy that somebody they knew was living, quote unquote, living what the dream was. He got his mom and his dad, man. He got a little brother. He got a little sister. They got bought a house. They got out of the projects. Man, that's what's up. That's what's up. Dang, Jamar. Bruh. I like the crib, man. That's tight, man. But inside they like, dang. Why my mom and dad can't do that? Why my dad don't claim me? Why my dad in jail? For whatever reason. For whatever reason. But we all have a story. We have some form of bias. It's hard to wear this skin and not have something, some issue, some challenge. And so being black in America, being black in the world can be burdensome depending on where you're from. And so self-hatred. They were trying to tell me without saying it not to F it up. That's what they were trying to tell me. And I did everything in my power to F it up. Because I was determined I was still going to be the same dude that first felt respected, that first felt a part of something. I didn't want to let that go. And, they said God took care of babies and fools, so he sure looked out for me. And then one day I eventually began waking up and I realized what I had. I realized the opportunities that I had. And I knew if I stayed any longer, then I'm going to waste my life. So I joined the military at 17. My mom and my dad both signed the paperwork and sent me on to Uncle Sam, and they got me away. And that move there changed my life. It truly changed my life. But there still was a very long process where I did not like myself because I would go into spaces and I would always feel awkward, the odd man out. And it wasn't funny. It wasn't a sitcom. It wasn't a joke. I never felt like I was good enough to be in these circles because my parents valued me staying alive more than, being a straight A student. My parents' priority was keeping me out of jail as much as possible, making sure I had some foundations and some character and some morals and a good support system. And if I graduated, that's an accomplishment because neither one of my parents graduated high school. So operating in, the education system was never my strong suit. It was never that much emphasis placed on it. Now, my mom did make me do my homework. My mom did make sure I was reading. She made sure I had the fundamentals. But I would bring a report card home, and as long as it wasn't full of D's and E's, we had E's back then. Y'all get F's now. But as long as it wasn't full of, if I had a couple of B's and a C or two, I could have a couple of D, maybe even the E, depending on what it was in. Because it was like, he's going to school. He's not skipping school. Whew. He's not out here on these corners with these other little boys. Whew. Okay, at least he going. All right, he going. And then she would come to school. She'd be a part of whatever she could. But my dad, he didn't do a lot because his work hours were doing those same times sometimes. But Uncle Ruckus is an exaggeration of what a lot of us kind of feel like sometimes. And when I kind of even hate to say this. When we open a black business, or when there's black folk working there, the standard is a little lower. Prime example. Which one do you prefer to go to? Chick-fil-A or Church's Chicken? Which one do you prefer to go to? Which one do you want to take your family to on a Saturday evening after a movie? Chick-fil-A or Church's Chicken? I'll wait for these comments because I'm curious. Chick-fil-A or church's chicken? Which one of those do you want to? My wife yelled Chick-fil-A through the house. Chick-fil-A! I mean, it's a very obvious question. And depending upon where you know there's a church's chicken, I mean, every church's chicken I've ever seen, with the exception of one, has been on the corner in some of the worst neighborhoods. I saw oh man, church is in your mouth. Oh man, I saw a church one time. I want to say it was in Mississippi. The churches literally had bars on the doggone door. The door you open to go into the store, the restaurant, it had bars on that door on the inside. I guess they got broken in so many times. They were like, I'm sick of these people stealing our deep fries, getting our secret recipe, taking all the chicken. Oh man. It seems like, and I know why, I'm making light of it, but as black people, sometimes we may not have our credit worthiness may not be as strong. And so sometimes we don't qualify for the same loan that our white or our Asian counterpart would qualify for. But then also there are these situations where there's bias the moment we walk into the door. Stop coming for the sip. Pour them a handful of dime. Oh man. And yeah, so there are some biases there where it's bias when we walk in the door. No matter how credit worthy we are, we're never going to get the same. We're never going to get the same. And I use the example quite often. When I got out of the military and I moved back home, I wanted to open a small business. I was looking at maybe some franchise and some other things. And I went to the bank for a loan. And my credit it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. It was good. It was like probably 710-ish range. And because I didn't have any business credit, they had to use my personal credit. And so they ran it. And they gave me all the factors that I wasn't worthy of the credit. But then one of my homeboys, guy I grew up with in the same community, he just got out of jail. We went to high school together also. He got out of jail and he opened up a tattoo shop. He didn't even have a job when he went to the bank and got the money. And they gave him a loan for $150,000, almost $200,000 to get a space, buy all his equipment, and have like 6 months of maintenance fee until he got the store running. And what's the difference between us two? Same bank. He's a white guy. And I'm coming out of the military. I got good credit. I got a little bit of money, but I'm not credit worthy. So that tells me that there's obvious bias there. And we went to the same bank. The only difference in us, come from the same community. The only difference was he was white and I wasn't. So sometimes that bias is real. We feel that hatred for other communities. All right, I got to get ready to get up out of here. And the final thing is, these commentators are here, they're blaming black people for their problem. Now, as a black person, I would expect it from other generations, other races, I mean. I would expect that because they don't understand what it's like to walk around in my skin. But for a person who does walk around in my skin, if you live in this country, you live in the world, you experience some form of racism, unless you from Africa and you've in where anybody other than black is a minority. You are the majority. And so you may not experience it in that way, if you're coming from a continent like Africa. But anywhere else in the world, if there's a dominant European presence there, there's going to be some bias there because there's been a narrative that's been painted. And so the worst person in the world, the most bitter person in the world, tends to be the person that hates themselves. Because if you hate yourself, it's going to be hard to form connection, which means you're not going to have the love that you want. And it also means you're going to be more jealous of other people. And that seed of bitterness is just going to grow, and it's going to grow, and it's going to grow. And I waited for today for this show in particular. And I wish I had a little bit more time to go with it, but I'm going to have to cut it short here in a minute. But self-hatred is the number one cause of most people's dysfunction, problems. When you don't love yourself, how can you love your children? When you don't love yourself, how can you love your partner? When you don't love yourself, how can you love your neighbor? If you don't love yourself, how can you love God? Because God made you, so you think God got it right with everybody but you? Come on now. Come on now. Self-hatred is the most destructive force there is. Which is why bitterness is the silent killer. Because nobody knows you hate yourself. Nobody knows what you think when you look in the mirror and you look at yourself. Nobody knows what you think every time a relationship ends or every time you're thinking about walking away from a relationship. Nobody knows what you're feeling when you go into a store and you turn your nose up at this person or that person because they appear to be something different. When you're prejudging and you're making assumptions based off of information that you don't even have complete yet. Self-hatred creates some of the worst people in the world. When you go back and you look around the world, the people who caused the greatest wars and did the most disgusting acts of violence were normally people who were three categories. They did it under the guise of religion. They did it under capitalism or money reasons, or they did it because they hated themselves. And most times when you hate yourself, that's why you want the money, because you're trying to prove to everybody else that you are somebody. You're trying to be number one, not because you are the best. It's because you want everybody else to know you're the best. It's because you low-key hate yourself and you're trying to find validation. Now, not in all cases. So for those high achievers, I'm not talking about you. However, there's a selfish motive in greatness. So what is that motive? For you, it's to feel like I belong. It's to feel loved and adored. When you're not at peace with yourself, you need a lot of external validation. Self-hatred is a very real thing, folks. It really is. And so the faster you start to love yourself, the more encouraged you get by who you are, the more excited you get about the things that you do, the dreams, the hopes, the plans, the goals, the things that the list that you made that you're checking off things. The more excited you get, the further you get away from the center, because the center is a bad place. You need to be high on yourself. You need to be high on your skills. You need to be high. I don't care how you think you look, how much you think you weigh. People, even though people are judgmental, but there are some people in this world that's going to love you regardless. They're going to love you at every stage, every weight, every shape, every form. So what if you're not a 10 piece? I'd much rather take a 5 piece than a 10 piece if I can get along with the 5 piece. If I can build dreams and hopes and future with the 5 piece. The 10 piece, if she problems, I what I'm gonna do with you? Arm candy is great. I can pay for that. When I'm building my life, I want the one I can get along with. I want the one that's gonna cooperate with me and not challenge every goal or dream or just gonna be an overall headache. But when you don't love yourself, you see the worst in yourself and you think other people see it too. And that's why Uncle Ruckus is the person that, or the character that he is. He's so exaggerated. But there's people just like him in the world. There's people who move like him, who think like him. Now, they may not be as what's the word? As dang, I can't think of the word. Oh, as outward with it, because they do it in a real low key position. Oh, I mean, put him over my face. I want to put him on the screen. You look at him. He's not the most attractive guy. He's not the most well-kept guy. But at least he'd be accepted in his own community. He might be a little weird. But that's just Uncle Ruckus, man. Uncle Ruckus be tripping, man. But he cool people, though. He cool people. But not in any other community, though. They'll say, hey, that's Ruckus. I ain't dealing with Ruckus. So being you is the best option that you have. So learn to love you. And so Monday is a holiday. So I'm probably going to be trying to in recovery mode because we got a busy weekend. Graduation today, cookout tomorrow. Sunday is something else. And Monday I'm probably sleeping. So, and then next Friday, I'm already know I'm working late next Friday. So next week might only be one show. So it might be a little bit longer show next week. So it'll definitely be Wednesday. But we're going to talk about how to get along with those people, how to get along, how to change that within ourselves. And I'm calling it the grass always looks greener or something like that. I've been thinking about it. But we're going to talk about rooting out self-hatred. We're going to talk about going from this version of a person, this Uncle Ruckus character, to actually becoming the person that we're proud of when we look in the mirror. Being able to form those healthy relationships with other people that may be struggling with self-hate. Because having sympathy for people is good because you can relate. But having empathy is also good. You can't relate, but you see it through other people. And I know what they went through. And if they went through that, I might share a little bit of that, but I can't really relate. But I can empathize to where you are. So that's what it's going to be. But yeah, man, good show. I hope that I am a little rushed because it's so much I wanted to get out. So I didn't quite get everything out that I wanted to, and I'm kind of watching the clock because I know I got to make a move here real soon, and I still got like 1 or 2 things I need to do before I leave the house. So shout out to Brick by Brick for coming through, blessing us with his presence. Craig G on the road still. I don't think Craig G on the road today. That chick, Yo, Toronto Riggins, B, Health Talk always in the background. Shout out to my guy Loke, man. He watches every episode. And he'll call me and be like, hey man, who was Sister Davis? Hey man, that spot y'all went to, I want to go there. He always checking. So shout out to all the people that watch, because I know 7 a.m. is early, man. It really is. I get it. So thank you so much for joining me this morning. And if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel for more empowering content. And don't forget to share this video with anyone who could use a little morning motivation. So until next time, have an amazing day, weekend, and be safe on this holiday. Hug those, kiss those that you care about, and be kind to all people. That's your yes. Come on and chat with us, Loke. Appreciate y'all, man. It's been a good ride. Life is amazing. It has its challenges, but it's good. All right, let me get about here because it's 8 o'clock on the dot, so time to hit the highway. All right, man. Y'all be blessed. I will see y'all on Wednesday.